not covering up your show, but with this dangerous storm coming in, we are going to keep an eye on it for you. First thing I want to do is talk about the winds, because that really is the biggest concern out of this storm. We'll switch over to the wind mode, and what you're looking at now, this is showing us how fast the winds are within the storm. And really from Harrisburg to Truman down to Mark Tree, Turl, Earl, and Parkin in Arkansas. Those are the areas that are seeing the strongest winds right now. As a matter of fact, we can query some of these winds and just get an idea of how strong these winds might be. So we're talking about the radar estimating winds in here of 65 miles an hour within this thunderstorm, and that is just about to cross the river into downtown Memphis. So Memphis, you've got maybe 10 minutes before this storm starts to affect you, and we could have some more power outages. So here's an early heads up. Charge your cell phones, because again, our power grid is already a little unstable from Tuesday's storms. We've still got folks without power from that storm, and now this storm is coming on in. So again, that's just an idea for you. The radar estimating in their winds of 65 miles an hour, just getting ready to cross the river. Danielle's putting a storm track on that right now, and that would be a good next thing to do, because West Memphis, I'll tell you, you're going to be up next. Turl, you're getting it now. Mark Tree and Truman, you're getting it now as well. But this thing is really quickly, Danielle, going to be crossing the Mississippi River into Memphis within the next 10 minutes. Talk about that.
That is right, Trevor. And we have been watching this storm kind of develop, waiting on them to issue this severe thunderstorm warning. We knew that it was coming. We've been watching these winds really get intense over the last 20, 30 minutes, especially here in Memphis. We were watching before they issued that severe thunderstorm warning, and we saw 63 mile an hour winds on our radar. So let me call out some of these towns on this storm track. Walls at 1:21 p.m. And for reference, it is already 1:20. Joyner at 1:21 as well. Caraway at 1:22, Shelby Forest at 1:23, Lake Cormorant at 1:23, as well as North Haven and downtown. Also Medical District at 1:24 and Crosstown and Lynchburg. So I drew this ahead of the storm, right? So the storm winds are really located in this red area that you're seeing. That is where the strongest of the winds are. I drew it out around 65 miles an hour, so that lets you know how fast this storm is going, and that is how we got those towns. So if we called your town, you need to make sure that you are going ahead and getting into your safe place. And I say that, and I know it's not a tornado warning, but I say that because we all know there's still a lot of storm debris just laying around. People are still waiting to clean up. We're still waiting for those trucks to come through. So you're looking at tree branches that might not be secure. Even on my way in, we definitely saw some down trees that are still down from Tuesday. So you want to take your precaution now and make sure that you are kind of away from those windows, as we're looking at 60, 70 miles an hour winds. And if you live downtown, and you know, maybe even in North Haven where you've lost power before, or your power might be still flickering, you can kind of anticipate that the power loss might be coming back today. So like Trevor said, charge those phones. It is very necessary. Another thing that we're going to keep our eye on is the potential for flooding. We got a lot of rain this morning. In fact, the rain woke me up while Trevor was at work, but a lot of flooding this morning, and that is going to be a concern as well, because a lot of places haven't had time for all of the water to secede. And in fact, even when I got off our exit here at Shelby Oaks, you could see the water still ponding right there. So you want to make sure if you run into some water, we say it all the time, turn around, don't drown. Don't even take the chance of driving through that water, because it could be deeper than you anticipate, and it only takes around an inch or two to carry away a car. As of right now, we're not seeing any flash flood alerts, which is great news. However, we still are looking at the potential for severe weather. We are all under a severe thunderstorm watch until 6:15 tonight, so that's important to note as well. But you can see how large this polygon is. That tells us there are a lot of people that are going to be impacted by this storm and by these storm winds as well. I think our producer has a camera up at I-40, and this is at mile marker 270 in Arkansas. The camera is looking a little bit shaky. Look at that storm there. This is what's coming towards us here in Memphis. It's definitely important that you take it easy out there. I know it's around lunchtime. Some people might be headed to go pick up something. Just stay inside. Wait for this storm to pass. It's moving around 65 miles an hour, so it should be kind of moving very quickly. Trevor, what do you have over there?
Well, Danielle, I've also been watching I-55, and if we can get a camera up there near Turl, the Turl exit on I-55 in Arkansas, that's a little piece up the road, but that's really where the strongest winds are, between Marion and Turl on I-55. Again, what you're looking at here, this is the storm winds. The brighter the color, the stronger the winds. And you can see we've kind of queried in here. The radar is estimating winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour crossing I-55 right now. So if we can get that camera at I-55, there's a couple in here between Clarkdale and Turl. That's just to the north of Memphis. If we can just pull it up as soon as we can, that's likely to give us a good idea of what this storm is doing. And again, if you're just joining us, we are on air with you because we have a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for the Memphis metro area. This is going to go for about the next hour because we have winds coming in of 60 to 70 miles an hour. The strongest winds right now on I-55. And that camera we just looked at, that was down in West Memphis. If we can go just a little bit further north, you'll run into that Turl exit, and there should be some cameras in there. But Turl, Arkansas, you'll want to get inside for this if you're not already, because we're seeing those winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour coming in now. And again, that's just about to cross the Mississippi River. Here's Fraser down here. So that is going to be in the Shelby Forest area within the next 5 to 10 minutes. And okay, here's a look at that camera. This is I-55 at I-555. This is the exit you can take to get up toward Jonesboro and up toward Mark Tree. You can see it was really coming down. You can see kind of the wind blowing across the street there, just very strong winds. And that's what's coming into Memphis here within the next couple of minutes. I'm mostly concerned about the northern portion of Shelby County. That little blob of bright green right there, that's going to be an issue for Shelby Forest, Millington, Bartlett, Lakeland, Arlington, Ellendale areas. That is where the strongest winds are going to be. And again, that is why we're on with you right now. Unfortunately, we are having to cover up your programming, and I do apologize for that, but we're with you because we already have a fragile power grid because of Tuesday's storms. We still have folks without power from that, and now we're getting another storm coming in, producing winds of 50 to 60 miles an hour. It's not just Crittenden County seeing the wind right now. It's also up into Poinsett County, Mark Tree, Harrisburg, Truman. You're seeing the same wind gust of 50 to 60 miles an hour. Really quick, I do want to switch back to the normal radar mode. This is what you're used to seeing, where it shows how hard it's raining. And you can see that line of thunderstorms right there moving in to the city of Memphis just as we speak. So if you're downtown, midtown, Fraser, this thing is going to be on you within the next little bit. And then I'm going to do a storm track really quickly and just give you an idea of when this is going to be in your neighborhood, because I know that's what you're concerned with the most. When is that storm going to be here? This thing's moving east at about 60 miles an hour, so pretty much interstate speed. Think about how fast you could drive from West Memphis to downtown. That's how quickly it's going to be on you. Southland Park, the casino, pretty much now. Caraway, Arkansas at 1:30, Joyner, Arkansas at 1:30, Shelby Forest, we were just talking about that, and North Haven, 1:32. That's where the strongest winds are going to be. If you're in North Haven or Shelby Forest, you really need to hunker down. Downtown, heavy rain and gusty winds coming to you by 1:32. The Medical District at 1:33, Crosstown at 1:34. And then Overton Square at 1:35. Again, the biggest concern with this storm is the damaging winds, but we've also got a concern with flooding. We saw a lot of flooding rain this morning. Some of those spots have still not drained, and now we've got more heavy rain coming in. Let's go over to Danielle. She's got an idea on how quickly this rain is coming down. And the bottom line is, Danielle, it's coming down.
It really is. There's no escaping it either because of how large this line is going. I'm going to talk about this, and then we're going to take a look at that camera at I-55 and exit 21 in Turl. But this shows us our rainfall rate. So how much rain is falling at this exact time. As you see right here, a little bit north of Earl, it says 7.1 inch per hour. Obviously, it's not 7 inches of rain falling right there. But what that says is that is very heavy rainfall falling in that area. And even south of marked tree there, 6 inches per hour. As we get closer to the metro Memphis area, we're going to see a lot more rain coming. That is another threat with this. So we're going to see, as you saw on that camera a little bit earlier, you can see the high winds blowing that heavy rain. It makes it very hard to see out there. So if you know anyone who might be on the interstate, it is important that you tell them to pull over and just wait for it to pass. Because we're looking at 65-mile-an-hour winds, the storm is moving very quickly, which is great news, but it is still very, very important that you take your time out on those roadways. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that I-55 camera at exit 21 Turl. You can barely see out there. Lots of rainfall. You can see maybe 3 sets of headlights, but it is really coming down. I mean, this is the storm that we were waiting to arrive over the last hour or so. So you're looking at 65, maybe even close to 67-mile-an-hour winds right now, and it is just blankets of rain falling. So you cannot see out there, folks. It's really important that you just stay where you are and just wait out the storm. I can maybe see some people with their flashers on, but that does no good at all if you're continuing to drive, and it is also very much illegal. If you cannot drive, you have to just stay where you are. I'm going to put another storm track on this because it is very important. It's also important to note that this line of storms is not the only storm that is included in this severe thunderstorm warning. In fact, I'm going to move the radar up just a little bit so we can get a little bit of a better picture. But there's also this little storm that is a little bit south of Collierville and north of Holly Springs. It is included in this severe thunderstorm warning. That is for high winds as well and heavy rainfall. So that is out in front of this system as it's making its way through. And this line of storm still coming our way. So we want to just keep a storm track on it in the most important parts. And it's important and very imperative that if we call out your town, that maybe you give someone a heads up, especially if they don't have any lights, and tell them, hey, you know, this storm is headed your way. So take the precautions as you need for it. So here is a new storm track for you. And I know the ones that say now, it makes it very difficult for you to get into a safe place, but you know that the worst part of the storm is headed your way. So Joyner, Lake City, Lynchburg, and downtown. This storm is right there over your roof. Caraway at 131, the Medical District at 131, Crosstown at 132, Graceland. I know it's Friday. Some people might be taking a visit to Graceland. Even if you're not from here, just wait off. Graceland will be open after this storm goes through. North Haven as well at 1:32 p.m. It's 2 minutes. That's how fast this storm is moving. You're not having a lot of time, and that heavy rainfall is going to be on top of you. So if you're maybe out watching us at a restaurant, just stay in for a while, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and the worst of it will pass. We're not going to dry out just yet. You can see that green on the backside of the storm. That's more rainfall coming. So once this heaviest of the rain gets out of here, we're going to see more rain behind it. Trevor's getting some more information, but let's take a look at I-40 West at the 240 interchange. So this is a little bit in front of the worst part of the storm, but you can see those dark clouds, Trevor. That is something to see. I mean, that is a severe thunderstorm, if I've ever seen it, right there approaching the city. The clouds are very, very dark, moving into downtown. And like I said, downtown, this storm is right over there. So Cooper Young at 1:33 p.m., this storm is going to be at your doorstep. Overton Square, Overton Park, and Shelby Forest, 1:33 p.m. What you just saw on your screen from the I-55 camera at Turl to all the way that dark cloud that's hanging over downtown right now, it is headed your way. So we want to make sure that you all are safe. We're looking at 60-mile-an-hour winds, and the last time we did this, which was Tuesday night, we saw the same thing. We saw power outages. We did see a lot of damage from trees, and a lot of it has not been cleaned up yet. So it's definitely important that you take your time if you have to leave wherever you are right now and just kind of wait it out, because like we said before, flooding is almost a sure possibility with this storm. Trevor, what do you have over there?
I just want to go back to that live picture if we can. And if there's any way we can maybe keep me in a box and just keep an eye on that picture. Sorry, Danielle.
No, you're fine.
I don't mean to kick you off the screen,
No,
but
okay.
that is just an incredible image to the point that I had to tweet it out on my phone just because that was insane. So there it is. So what you're looking at there, That's what's called a shelf cloud, and that is the leading edge of those damaging wind gusts that are coming in. You can see it almost looks a little green. You can kind of see the pyramid off there if you squint. That's the pyramid in St. Jude on the right. Downtown Memphis is on your left. So that's that leading edge. That's where the strongest winds are. Once that cloud passes over you, that is where the winds are going to be the strongest. And I'm sorry, I'm multitasking. I'm going to just put out a social media post for people that might not be watching TV because they need to know about this too. And so that's that leading edge of storms. I don't want to put this camera anywhere. I want to leave these boxes ready. And as soon as that cloud hits this camera, I want to go back to it. But for just a little bit, let's go back to the radar, because what I've done is I've taken some of the junk off your screen. I know nobody likes to see all that mess. What I've done, I've highlighted the areas of wind that are over 50 miles an hour. So anywhere you're seeing green in here, that is wind over 50 miles an hour. So you can see from this that the strongest winds in Shelby County are going to be North Haven, Shelby Forest, Millington, Bartlett, Arlington. Not to say it's not going to be windy downtown or at the airport, but their winds might be 40 to 50 miles an hour. These are the winds that could really be destructive. And what I want to do is zoom back in here and talk about this little area right here along the river, east of Clarkdale. So there's I-55 between Clarkdale and Turl. This is the Mississippi River right here. And we're up here near Shelby Forest. Shelby Forest sets pretty much right in here. So we're just to the north of Shelby Forest. And then here's Millington right behind me. These bright colors you're seeing in here, these are your winds. My goodness, look at this, 80 plus miles an hour. And this is really close to the ground. What I mean by that is the radar site we're using is in Millington. Since the earth is curved, as the radar goes straight out, it's actually getting a little higher in the clouds. So what that means is, I'm not gonna get too technical, hang with me here. As the storm gets farther from the radar, let's say if we were looking at a storm in Dyersburg from the Millington radar, it's actually measuring the winds 3,000 feet in the clouds, and it can show winds of 100 miles an hour, even if it's only 50 at the surface. Since we're so close to this radar, it's actually measuring these winds probably just a couple of 100 feet off the ground. So it would not surprise me at all if these winds, at least something near to it, are making it to the ground. Again, that is right on top of the Mississippi River, and that is by far the strongest batch of wind. So I know in Memphis, I know it's getting bad downtown. I know it's pitch black. It's raining now in downtown Memphis. But what I'm most concerned about is the wind, and the worst of that is going to be in northern Shelby County into Tipton County. I don't want to forget about you in Tipton County, Mississippi County, Lauderdale County. You're going to get it too. And I want to put a storm track just on that area with the strongest winds. So let's do that. And again, this thing is trucking at about 60 miles an hour. So let's put a storm track out on that. Wilson at about 140. Millington, here is your early heads up, 143. I expect damaging winds in Millington by 143. The National Weather Service pretty much confirming everything I just told you. National Weather Service office at the Agri Center, they're great folks. They're watching the same thing. What's happening is the speed of the storm is getting faster. That means the winds are getting faster. So they're going to increase the forecast for winds to 80 miles an hour in this area. So this storm track that I just drew, and I want to leave this on the screen, but I'm just going to move this over a little bit so you can see it. These times of arrivals, Atoka at 150, Osceola at 151, Burleson at 153, Brighton at 154. That is where we're going to see winds as high as 70 to 80 miles an hour. Serious. That's going to take out power easily, especially in Memphis where we already have a fragile power grid from Tuesday's storms. Not everybody's with power even from Tuesday's storms. So let's go full screen to this camera if we can. What you were looking at a second ago was downtown Memphis. You can no longer see downtown Memphis because it is raining so hard, but we're near the Danny Thomas exit. If you could see it, you'd see St. Jude and the pyramid on the right, downtown on the left. You could see just the sheets of rain coming down right now over downtown Memphis. Those trees, check out that tree on the right. My goodness, that wind is really kicking right there on the right. That tree that you're watching right there, that big one on the right, just to the right of the interstate, that tree is pretty much leaned over. And this is, again, like I just told you, this is not the strongest wind. We're talking about winds here. Well, check that out. My word. I mean, those trees are just hanging on out there.
Trevor, that
Yeah.
I kind of want to, I keep monitoring our storms because we've had kind of a melting pot of everything here.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at possible hail
Okay.
as well. It's one of the things that we really haven't been focusing on. But right now, our radar is showing pretty good sized hail, possibly at the river. So that is definitely concerning as well. Right now, it shows that the hail size could be greater than an inch. If that is true, that is some damaging hail. In fact, I'm going to zoom in on that part of the storm right now as well, because that is also the worst part that's getting a lot of rain at this very same time. So this is right, we saw that camera that was in Turrell. So this is right past Turrell, right in this area. That is where we're looking at some possible large size hail as well. Now, the severe thunderstorm warning does not include hail, but there is a possibility for it. So that's something that we're keeping our eye on. In fact, this is our threat tracker. It lets us know what kind of threats we're looking at in the storm, and it's one of our best tools that we use here. And even this one is saying that there could be maybe some 1-inch size hail. So I'll probably send a note to the National Weather Service to see what they're seeing on their end. But it's very important to know all of our possible dangers that could be associated with this system as it moves through. And like Trevor said, now that we're seeing the storm get stronger and move faster, that is very, very concerning. And why? Because the last time we had 80 miles an hour winds here in the Mid-South, we saw those power poles snapped at the base. So that's just telling you how strong those storms are. And like Trevor said, you can see on those videos just how high the winds are. In fact, we can pull up another one, I-40 west of the 240 interchange. That one will probably show exactly how high the winds are as well. They just issued a destructive tag. So that means that these winds are so strong, 80-mile-an-hour winds, that we're definitely anticipating some damage here all across the Mid-South along that line. Trevor, what are you looking at over
And
there?
you might have just noticed our warning on the radar turned brighter yellow right behind you. That box kind of turned a brighter color. That's because the National Weather Service has the ability now to categorize their severe thunderstorm warning. So what we were talking about a little bit ago was just a standard severe thunderstorm warning. They've now categorized this severe thunderstorm warning as destructive. It is going to cause damage. And the interesting thing about that is, since they've used that category, now cell phones are going off. So all of us here in the studio just got that buzz alert. I heard it out in the newsroom as well. Your phone is likely going off as well. And that is because, bottom line is, winds this strong can be just as bad as a tornado. It does not take a tornado to do damage. Undoubtedly, when this is over, we're going to have somebody say, oh, this had to be a tornado. Absolutely not. We can easily have winds of 80 miles an hour within the storm that are not from a tornado. This is not a tornado day. We're not going to have a tornado pop up, more likely than not. But we are seeing, again, that is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning for winds of 80 miles an hour. And the worst of that now is crossing the river. I want to zoom in here tighter because this is where we're seeing those winds of 80 miles an hour coming right into Millington. We'll kind of poke around this a little bit and just give you an idea. But Millington, you just need to hunker down. I don't need you by the windows. I don't need you outside. I need you hunkered down if you are in Millington, because we've got these kind of winds coming in 50 to 60, possibly as high as 70 miles an hour in here. Again, it just depends on kind of where I poke around in the storm. But there's definitely some gusts within this storm that are as high as 50 miles an hour. Even I'm noticing downtown, we're getting some brighter colors showing up. Right in here, that's about over Harbortown and Mud Island. So let's kind of query that. And again, the strongest winds are up near Millington, but we're still seeing winds over Mud Island and Harbortown of 40 to 50 miles an hour. If you'll allow me, I hate to use my phone on TV, but I have some friends that live on Mud Island, and I gave them a heads up and said, your power is probably about to go out. So I'm wondering if I can see from them. If you're watching, text me. Please let me know. I'd love to have that update. But I'll just leave my phone up because I have a feeling that, unfortunately, as this works its way through, we are going to see those power outages increase. Now, just as a baseline, I want to get our MLGW outage map up because, like I said, we've still got outages from last night. And it just went up, Danielle, since you had it pulled up. I think your map said 14,000. MLGW map now has 17,000. Take a look at that. Those are just the outages over on Danielle's screen.
Yeah.
Already.
Right, exactly. And we've seen these numbers kind of go up as well. Obviously, St. Francis did not have 1,000 customers without power. Also, just as a heads up, I know managers are watching this coverage. If someone has not left for work yet, just tell them to wait this storm out for a second, because those winds are too high to be driving or trying to make their way to work at all right now. So this is a look at your power outages. This number kind of updates as the number goes along. But what we saw on Tuesday was that there were so many outages that this was coming in even slow. It was hard for it to keep up with the data. So definitely want to make sure to emphasize that even though that says 14,000 people without power right now, that is by customers. So you multiply that number by 2, that lets you know a roundabout of how many people that impacts. And we want to say that that's probably a higher number, like Trevor said. Poinsett and Cross counties, 500 to 200 customers and 1,000 customers there in St. Francis. As these storms continue to move, we're going to see more outages. I was trying to check some of our Facebook comments to see if people were a little bit apprehensive, and I do see that some people are saying that in North Haven, that when they lose power, they also lose cell phone service. So that is definitely very concerning, because that means that you have no way of getting alerts. But on the other hand, this isn't a tornado. You're not going to be hearing sirens, but like Trevor just said, our phones are going off because there is that destructive tag. I'm going to go back to the radar because I did draw a new line and a new storm track for us. Shelby Farms, Snowden Grove, Ellendale right now. Hickory Hill, 1:45, so that is along 385. Munford, 1:46 p.m., as well as Pleasant Hill. Wolf Chase right now. Lakeland at 1:47. Germantown at 1:47. And Cordova at 1:47. I know a lot of people in Collierville have already gotten some rain, but I hate to tell you this line of storms is still headed your way. So even though you are in Collierville thinking, okay, this is the storm she's talking about and Trevor's talking about, it's really not. This line of storms is still coming. So brace yourself for some more rainfall. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at I-40 in Hollywood. You can see how strong the winds are with this storm with one of these traffic cameras. There it is at the top of your screen there. You are seeing how bad it's raining. Like I said, blankets of rain right now. Definitely very, very concerning. So we need to make sure that everyone is safe at this time. Like I said, if you know someone who is on the way to work here right now in Bartlett, they need to hold off because the worst of the storm is arriving here in the next 5 minutes or so. Here's a look as well. This is a new severe thunderstorm warning, and it is for North Mississippi. And this is the part of the storm that I was saying, Collierville, you have been included in this destructive tag for this severe thunderstorm warning, but the highest of the winds are still headed your way right now. So it's important that you are trying to at least communicate with people who might not have power still. So it's kind of one of those situations where it's definitely a wind event, but we're seeing the damage and we're seeing the trouble spots already. So here's another look at that power outage map. That number hasn't gone up just yet, but you can see now Marshall County experiencing some outage as well. Trevor?
Danielle, it pays off to have friends because we're getting reports from the field at people's houses. I've got people texting me. My Mud Island friend just texted me back. Power is on there. They're usually the first to lose power, it seems like. But the winds are really bad. And that's going to be the case all around town. So if you're in downtown Mud Island, North Haven, Fraser, things are going to be calming down a little bit now. It's going to keep raining for a little bit, but things are going to be on the decrease now. Tipton County, it's coming right in over our station now. That's if you're hearing our roof crack a little bit. This leading edge, it's going to be the strongest wind right when the storm hits you. So for lack of a better term, it's going to go from 0 to 100 really quick with those winds that are picking up. I want to just kind of make my way down the line, and then we're going to do a storm track because I don't want you to think we're forgetting about you if you're in Mississippi County, Arkansas, or in Tipton County, Tennessee. Kaiser is probably getting really bad wind. Osceola, you are next up. In just a little bit, you're going to be getting the same amount of wind. Wilson in Arkansas, I want to give a head up to Munford, Atoka, Covington along Highway 51. That storm is headed your way. It's right over the radar site. Let's pray the radar site hangs on. It's been known to go off in winds like this, so hopefully it'll hang on there. But that's that little circle you're seeing in the storm. That's where that radar site is located. That's at the old naval base up in Millington. That big white ball you see on the tower, that's our weather radar. Bartlett, Arlington, you're going to be up next. Really the beginning of those winds just coming down Highway 64 near Summer. It's all within the 240 loop, but 240 and Poplar, you're going to pretty much be up next. Hickory Hill area, you're going to be getting the winds here in just a little bit. And then things not as bad in DeSoto County, but still very windy in South Haven and Olive Branch, even Hernando getting in on a couple of showers. So I want to switch back now to the mode of the radar that shows us the winds, because obviously that is the big story out of this storm. We're seeing this storm that's had a history of producing winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour. And weather radar is not great for determining how fast the winds are. It's a great tool to use to tell you how hard it's raining, but what it can do is it can guesstimate the wind based on if it can see the raindrops flying around in the storm. So that's what it's doing. And the brighter the color in here, the stronger the wind. We have been getting reports now. It's southwest Memphis wind gusts at the airport, actually 47 knots, which is going to be a little closer to 55 miles an hour. And that is going to be enough to do damage. I'm hearing our power kind of flicker. Let's hope it stays on a little bit. But we're definitely seeing those winds come through Millington, Turrell, Atoka, Covington. Really, it looks like Tipton County might be getting in on the worst of it next. So if you're in Tipton County, just be aware that those winds are really going to be picking up soon. And I want to do another storm track on this as this thing moves through the Memphis metro area and just give you an idea of when it could be in your neighborhood, because that's what people want to know more than anything. We have time and time again people message us and say, thank you for keeping the storm track up. So I don't want to forget to do that. What I'm going to do is just draw along the beginning of the storm, and this is going to give you a rough idea of when this thing could be in your neighborhood. Our lights are flickering here, so let's hope we stay on the air. We've been through enough storms the last couple of months. I think if it can hold through that, hopefully our generator can get going here at the TV station. Munford, right now, it is on your doorstep. Expect winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour. That's enough to take down trees and power lines. If you have a tree by your house that you know is old, maybe you've been needing to get it cut down for a while, now is the time to probably just pretend that it's a tornado. This is not a tornado situation, but if you have a tree that you're worried about, and again, our lights are going to keep flickering here at the station, go ahead and just be in that safe place. Atoka at 151, Pleasant Hill, that's down in DeSoto County at 151, Wolf Chase Galleria around the same time, Germantown at 152, Olive Branch at 152, Lakeland at 153, and the Southwind Golf Course out toward Collierville at 153. Another update for you. We've been down this road one time before. We talked about it all morning. We're going to do it again. We've now got a flash flood warning that's in effect for DeSoto County and Shelby County until 5 o'clock. That is because these heavy rains are going to lead to more flash flooding. That rain really didn't have a good chance to go down this morning. So if you know an area that is typically flooded, it's probably going to be flooded for the next little bit. Now, if there is some good news, we'll take it away. The winds in this storm are so fast because the storm is moving fast. The storm itself is moving at 60 miles an hour. So this is not going to be like this morning where it rained for hours and hours and hours and hours. It's going to come and go pretty quickly. So with any luck, that's going to allow that water to drain a little bit before the evening commute. Danielle, you've got the map that shows that warning. It's going to go for a good chunk of Shelby County and DeSoto County. Again, this is in addition to the wind threat. Yep. We've also got the flash flooding threat due to this heavy rain that you're seeing outside right now. Exactly, and it was one of the things that we have been talking about was going to be our secondary threat was the possible chance for flooding, and they just issued that flash flood warning. And until 5 o'clock, it does include portions of DeSoto and Shelby County. And this is some of the parts that have had some standing water already before. So you definitely want to make sure you remember those key things because it is the middle of the day. So some people still have to get home from work, but you have to take it slow tonight. You have to remember to turn around, don't drown. We do not want to get anyone swept away by some of these waters. Anything greater than an inch, you never know how much water could
take away your car, really. Here's some more alerts for you. Here's another look at that power outage map. The outages in Tipton County are continuing to climb. Still 14,000, according to this map, customers in Shelby County without power. And we are under a severe thunderstorm watch until later on this evening. They'll start to scale back some of these counties in this watch. But until then, especially if you're out in front of this orange box that you're seeing on your screen, so that includes Shelby, Fayette, Hardeman, Benton, all of you all should just prepare for these high winds. I also did see a comment. Someone asked us, what about Hernando? Well, Hernando, you all are getting some of the worst portions of the storm. In fact, I will move this up just a little bit so we can see. So I put a new storm track on this storm with it moving around 80 miles an hour. So if you are in Hernando, yes, you are getting portions of this storm that's moving this way. And this storm is moving very fast, but the winds are causing a lot of damage as it goes through. So Galloway, Lewisburg, right now the storm is on your doorstep. Burleson at 154, Center Hill and Brighton also at 154, Braden at 156, Garland at 156, Collierville at 157. You remember I just told you all that if you live in Collierville, you had a strong storm down there, but this is the real deal headed your way. Oakland at 157, Piperton at 159, heavy rainfall rates right now. That's why they issued that flash flood warning. So that means you definitely don't want to drive through any ponding water, and the rain is still coming. So I'll move this storm track box off just a little bit so we can see the rainfall rates there, but you can see all of the rain that's still to come. This is the worst part of the storm, but there's still more rain. In fact, let's take a look outside at 240 and Sam Cooper. You can see how bad that rain is falling. It is definitely coming down in blankets right now. We can hear it on our studio here in Bartlett. It is definitely not something that you want to play with. I know you cannot see when you're driving with rain that heavy and coming down that fast. And with the storm winds around 80 miles an hour, you do know that, it's a cause for concern. I do have good news for people who are in Arkansas, and I literally just said that. They're going to remove some of the counties from the severe thunderstorm watch, and they have removed our Arkansas counties from that watch, which is great. So Poinsett, Cross, Crittenden, St. Francis, Lee, and Phillips County, you all are out of the watch, but still more rain is coming, so take it easy out there as well. We're still keeping our eye on this strong thunderstorm that is still moving through Shelby County. Here's another look at 385 between Kirby and Riverdale. We all know 385 is a puddle, and there it is. You're seeing it live here on ABC 24. Very heavy rainfall. People can't see. We can barely see outside on the camera there. It's definitely a concerning time for anyone who is on the roadways right now across the area. You definitely need to make sure that you're taking your time out there. Trevor?
All right, Danielle, just as we're coming up on the 2 o'clock hour, I just want to do a reset here. You're watching WATN TV.
Trevor, you're muted.
My bad. As I was saying, my microphone was muted. Just as we're coming up on the 2 o'clock hour, I want to reset here. You're watching WATN TV Memphis. Meteorologist Trevor Burchett alongside meteorologist Danielle Moss. We are suspending our normal programming to bring you severe weather coverage, and it is because of this. We have a nasty severe thunderstorm moving through the Memphis area right now. Not only Memphis, but really also Tipton County, Mississippi County in Arkansas, and then into Lauderdale County in Tennessee. So this is not a tornado situation, but we've seen wind gusts of 70 or 80 miles an hour, which is just as strong as a tornado in some cases. So I want to zoom in here. This is really working its way through Memphis just as we speak. And I want to zoom in, first of all, up toward Tipton County, because it seems like they are really getting the worst of it now. Let's see if I can get my button to work. Not cooperating with me on this Friday. I think it's ready for the weekend. As am I, but you know what? We are going to stay here with you and let these storms roll on through. We could start the weekend after that. And luckily, this is kind of the last batch of storms. We have a really nice weekend coming up. We just got to get this batch of storms first. Even tonight, not looking too bad. So if you're in Munford right now, you are in the worst of it right now. Atoka as well. Coming up 51, Brighton, you're next, and then eventually toward Covington. Let me switch back to the mode of the radar that's going to tell us how fast these winds are blowing. because again, that is the big story within this storm. Munford, Brighton, Rosemark, the brighter colors that you're seeing in here, that is where the winds are the strongest. Moving down into Shelby County, you can see that bright area in there. That is the strongest wind right now. So Arlington, Lakeland, Germantown, Collierville, you're getting the strongest winds right now. Now, this storm is not as strong down in DeSoto County. Still some heavy rain and gusty winds, but we're talking winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour down there. Not as strong as what we're seeing up here in Shelby County. So I want to really quickly kind of poke around on the wind moat. And this is going to tell us, let's see here, how fast these winds are blowing. So I'm going to poke just near Arlington. 65 miles an hour. I'm going to guess that is going to be around Germantown Parkway and Trinity, 60 miles an hour there. And then coming into Collierville, winds a little closer to 45 or 50 miles an hour. So again, that's that leading edge of the storm. I don't want to forget you in Tipton County, Brighton right now. Also seeing those wind gusts of about 50 miles an hour. So I do want to put another storm track on this and just give you an idea of when this thing might be in your neighborhood. It's moving at about 60, 65 miles an hour. And so it's really coming up quickly onto Covington, Oakland, Somerville, eventually toward Brownsville. This thing is going to be up near you. So let's do another storm track on this. And again, Osceola, you're also getting in on some of those strongest winds as well, right on the leading edge, as we call it, right where the thunderstorm first hits you. That's where the winds are going to be the strongest. So here are your times of arrival for the strongest winds. Garland right now, Galloway now, Luxora by 2 o'clock, Center Hill down in DeSoto County, the Center Hill schools around 2:01, Braden at 2:02, Collierville at 2:03. That's enough time to get your phone up a couple of percentages in case power goes out. Covington at 2:04, you got a little bit of time there as well. Piperton at 2:05, Mason, Tennessee at 2:05, and then Oakland at 2:06. Now, winds are the biggest concern out of this. Again, winds right now, 60 to 70 miles an hour in some cases, but this rain is also coming down hard. We have seen rainfall amounts just in the last little bit of an inch or two. Now, keep in mind, this morning, we already set a rainfall record. Just from this morning, we got 3.5 inches of rain. That was in about 6 hours this morning. That obliterated the record for rainfall on this date. That's the most rainfall we've ever gotten on this date. And now we're adding more to it. I guarantee you, we just added another inch of rain in Memphis, and it's coming down so hard, flash flooding now a concern again, just like it was this morning. Flash flood warning for the metro, but another one now coming, Danielle, for Fayette and Marshall counties as that heavy rain is moving in down there as well.
That is right, Trevor. So flooding is definitely a cause for concern. In fact, let's take a look at that 385 camera again, because our producer, she pointed out a really good point. If you take a very close look, you can see the cars driving through that water, and there's white caps coming off the top because there's so much water, so much rain. 385 is basically flooded right now. So heavy rainfall still coming as well. And this is what you're taking a look at is 385 at Kirby and Riverdale. So that is definitely in the worst part of it right now, still getting heavy rainfall, and there's more rainfall to come. They just issued that flash flood warning as well, the new one for Fayette, Marshall, and portions of Benton County. So keep this in mind. Until this rain continues to pass through, we're still going to continue to see a flooding threat involved with it. So heavy rainfall. This flash flood warning is until 5 p.m. for all of the counties that are highlighted in this green color right now. So if you know somewhere that may flood all the time, you can guarantee that it's probably flooding right now. Heavy rainfall rates are still continuing. This is the brand new box here for Fayette, Marshall, and Benton counties. Parts of Shelby and DeSoto counties were already in that flash flood warning, and we have definitely been seeing more rain, and there's even more coming. So like Trevor said, with it being a record-breaking day with the rainfall, this is going to become very dangerous for people, especially as some people might be trying to go home early from work, maybe try to pick up the kids from camp, whatever you need to do. It's very concerning. You need to make sure that you're trying to stay inside as long as possible. The storm is moving very fast. Yeah. So give it around 10-15 minutes and you should be in the clear from the worst of it. There'll still be rain, but at least you'll be through the worst of it. Trevor, what do you have over there?
Well, Danielle, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. This morning, I told you, charge your phones, that we were likely going to be dealing with power outages with the second round of storm. We've just seen them jump up in Shelby County from 17,000 to 38,000. That hasn't even updated. I'll give you a spoiler alert that nobody wants. It's 56,000. We are back up to 56,000 people without power. Now, 17,000 of those were still out from Tuesday. So 17,000, we've had an extra, what is that, 20, 30, 40,000 just in the last couple of minutes. This map, like Danielle said, there's so many outages, it's taken some time to process it. But the official MLGW map has 56,000 customers, 62,000. I hate that every time I refresh it, it goes up by 3,000, but it does. 62,000 people without power in the city of Memphis and Shelby County. Now, I want to be careful when I say people, because I want to remind you that this number is the amount of bills that are without power. So let's say mom pays the bills. You've also got dad in the house, the 2 kids in the house. That's going to show up as one outage. So if this map says 38,000 people, customers without power, you can probably multiply that times 2 or 3 for each person that lives in the house. So officially, again, this hasn't even updated yet, 62,000 people without power. The worst spots, Fraser, Raleigh, it looks like it's going to be the Walnut Grove area, Orange Mound, Bethel Grove, South Memphis, Whitehaven, Graceland areas. We're seeing a lot of outages. And then pretty much all down Germantown Parkway. I bet you every light is out on Germantown Parkway from Stage to Poplar. So avoid Germantown Parkway. I would recommend that. Poplar, also going to see a lot of traffic lights out. Notice also Crittenden County up to 2,000 people without power. Tipton County has about 900 customers. Even DeSoto County showing up with some outages. So we're going to keep you updated on that. And of course, thankfully, it's not going to be as hot for the next couple of days, but 88 still not fun with no power. I will tell you, I want to give out some all clears. We love to do that at ABC 24 because I don't want people just waiting on the edge of their seat for the worst of this storm to pass. If you're watching in a good chunk of eastern Arkansas, the worst of the rain is over. The worst of the wind is over. You're still seeing some rain, Forest City, Wynn, and Jonesboro. Once the worst of the storm passes, you might see rain for another hour or 2. We'll be drying out by tonight. But if you're in eastern Arkansas, let's say maybe not Blytheville, you're going to get in on some heavier rain. But everybody else in eastern Arkansas is clear from the worst of it. North Mississippi, it looks like you're going to miss out on the worst of it, except if you're along Highway 72. If you live along 72 from Ashland, Holly Springs out to Corinth, you're going to get in on some heavy rain and gusty wind. Dyersburg, you're probably going to miss out on the worst of it too. But if you're in Ripley, Covington, Brownsville, Alamo, Jackson, Bolivar, that's where this thing is coming up next. Downtown Memphis, worst is past you. The worst is past Fraser, Raleigh, the airport area. But again, the damage is already done. I'm afraid to refresh the MLGW map. It's got 62,000 right now. That's what it's still got. Let's hope it doesn't go up anymore. But again, we had reports of wind 60 to 70 miles an hour as that storm rolled on through. I just want to give you a quick heads up for who's next for the damaging wind gust. It's going to be Osceola, you're getting it now. Blytheville, you're about to get in on some wind. Covington, Ripley, Tennessee, Oakland, Somerville, Collierville, you're in it now. Moscow, Tennessee, you're next up, and then eventually out toward Ashland, getting in on that rain right now. The worst of it moving out of the city of Memphis. We've been through the worst of it in Memphis. This will be taming down for the rest of the night. And then again, we're done with storms, at least storms like this, for a good little bit. But if you're in Germantown, Collierville, you're still getting in on the worst of it. Let's check out if we have any new information here coming in. So they're now going to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning, which is going to come out for the rest of this line. So the severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect right now was due up at 2:15. And as you can see, it's kind of moving out of that warning box. So we're going to get a new severe thunderstorm warning, likely up toward Ripley, Brownsville, Somerville, Bolivar, because you're going to be next up to see this thunderstorm. In fact, I want to put another storm track on it for those of you who haven't seen it yet. Now, if it's already raining at your house, the worst is past you, because that biggest wind gust is right before the rain starts. It hits you right as the rain is starting to come down. So if it's coming a flood at your house, the worst of it's already past you, and it's going to be downhill from there. Now, it's still coming a flood, but the worst wind is going to be past you. Let me put another storm track on this. Again, this thing's kicking off at about 60 miles an hour here. Let's see if I can get that to click. There we go. So Moscow, I just mentioned you by about 208. Williston at 208 as well. Osceola also within the next couple of minutes. Charleston at 2:09, Somerville at 2:09, Red Banks, Mississippi at 2:10, Henning at 2:15, Durhamville at 2:17. So that's getting into western Tennessee, almost up to Jackson. That's how fast this thing is moving. Within an hour, this is not going to be an issue for any of us. It's going to be moving out of our area and up toward Nashville. So give this another hour, and the rest of your day will be winding down. We'll have a little rain through maybe 6 o'clock. Dinner time tonight, drinks out on the town. I think you are going to be okay. So we're going to keep watching this. Danielle's got a kind of a big map of everything that's in effect. It shows you who's out of the watch, who's still in it. Danielle, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what I've been watching is, like you said, trying to give people some good news, a little bit of relief. What can you anticipate? So I've been trying to kind of get together that. We've been watching this storm system kind of develop, so we'll talk a little bit about what's next as well. So as of right now, the counties in pink, you are in that severe thunderstorm watch, and it does include Shelby County right now until 6 o'clock. Now, the good news is the National Weather Service will start to trim back. So what does that mean? They'll start to take some of the counties out. You can already see that Dyer has been removed from it. Mississippi, Poinsett, Cross, Crittenden, St. Francis, Lee, and Phillips counties have all been removed from the severe thunderstorm watch. These yellow boxes are your severe thunderstorm warnings. There's also a destructive warning, but that does expire at 2:15, which is great news. Here's a look at your flash flood alerts. There's a flash flood warning in effect for Shelby, Fayette, DeSoto, Marshall, and Benton counties as well. Lots of heavy rainfall falling right now in those places. And it looks like there's going to be a little bit more rain coming as well. Here's a look at our radar. This is one of the radars that Trevor and I use, our future casts that we look at to see what people can anticipate after the storm passes through. As of right now, it has been kind of keeping up with the storm. As you see, this is saying it's a little bit far behind. That is the rainfall that is falling right now. And, you know, for these summertime storms, it gets very hard to pinpoint exact timing, but I'll kind of go through and see what you can anticipate throughout the rest of your evening. Now, that severe thunderstorm watch expires around 6 o'clock, and as you see, most of the rainfall will be completely gone, which is great news. But as of right now, this Futurecast is picking up on some possible rainfall north of I-40 as well. This is around 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, so we'll keep our eye on that. I'll probably be staying here to keep an eye on that storm system as well. But the worst of it, what we've been tracking, why you all have not been watching your regularly scheduled programming, is because we've been keeping our eye on this storm system that is moving through the area. But take a look, most of Shelby County is really almost in the clear from the worst of those very, very high winds. But unfortunately, there's a lot of damage that has already been done. Here's a look at our power outages that we look at on the weather side of things. It shows our entire viewing area and not just Shelby County. And I think that is worth it for today because Shelby County isn't the only place that was impacted by this storm. And you can see 900 customers in Tipton, 2,000 now in Crittenden, 1,000 in St. Francis, 200 down in DeSoto County. So a lot of people still trying to get things together from on Tuesday. And now we're looking at this threat as well. So it's definitely something that we'll have to keep our eye on. I'll put another storm track on it because what we'll probably see happens at 2:15 is they'll probably take that destructive one off or either redraw it. And then we'll keep an eye on that. There are some spotters that are reporting some damage, maybe a snapped flagpole in Collierville. So that is definitely concerning. That tells you right now they're saying that the winds could have been around 76 miles an hour in Collierville. And like I said, the last time we saw winds that high was that day in Bartlett where we saw those power poles literally snapped at the base. And flooding is also a concern with this. In fact, let's take a look at 385 and Hickory Hill. That shows a little bit of the ponding. Like I said, you should not see white caps as you're driving on the interstate, but there you are at 385. It looks like people are in boats. That's never good. We can go ahead and take that full screen if you want to, because that's concerning. You're not supposed to do that. Some of that water could definitely be a little bit deeper than you anticipate, especially if you are riding along the shoulder of the interstate. So make sure that you use proper precautions. Please please don't get, too squirrely out there. A lot of people have a lot of traveling to do still. It is Friday. I know it's the summertime. People might be trying to go out on vacation. It is 2:11, so some people might be trying to just get home from their day. But it is definitely still very, very concerning. I have a new storm track because even though the worst of it is kind of moving out of Shelby County, we do want to make sure that our friends all across the Mid-South are safe at this hour. And these storm winds are still staying around that 60-mile-an-hour area. So that still could cause some damage and some possible power outages as well. So Williston at 2:13, Somerville at 2:13, Charleston at 2:14, and Moscow at 2:14 as well. Stanton at 2:17, Red Banks maybe around 2:19, Henning at 2:20, Durhamville at 2:23, Eurekaton at 2:23, and Whiteville at 2:25. So that's when you'll expect the highest of the winds to making an impact there as well. So now what they're talking about, what you're hearing all those dings, I know you're probably wondering, what is that sound? That is them talking about the new flash flood warning. They're going to be issuing a new one, and it's going to go back until Crittenden County. So let's take a look at that. These are some of your flash flood alerts. We use some of these to kind of keep things clear so that people can see exactly what we're talking about. If I have the radar up here and the severe thunderstorm warning and everything, it gets too confusing. So we want to make sure that everybody's able to understand what's going on. This is your new flash flood warning that was issued. It does include North Shelby County as well as portions of Crittenden and Tipton. I'm trying to put those together. Crittenden and Tipton counties. That is a new flash flood warning in effect. So now we have two for Shelby County, and the new one expires at 5:15 p.m. And I'll move that up above that monitor there so you can see it clearly. So that new one is until 5:15 p.m. We do have a little bit of rainfall still moving following this storm, the worst part of the storm. So just keep that in mind. The rain is really not quite done yet. Trevor, what are you monitoring over there?
I got some video in, and I do have to shout out my mom who took this video. But I did want to show it because it does show you just how extreme the winds are. This is down in Hickory Hill, and it almost looks like a hurricane has come through. I'm going to get onto her for being by the window because you should not be doing that. But it does show just how extreme those winds are howling by. Now, of course, this has passed by now, but you can almost see that little tree out there hanging on. And those winds easily 50 to 60 miles an hour. And that's exactly what we were expecting as these storms rolled through. Yep. I want to go back out to Fayette County. That's who's seeing the strongest wind now. And again, what I've done with this radar image is taken the storm winds and I've highlighted the area where winds are over 50 miles an hour. That's that red zone you see there. So from Covington down to Oakland, that is where we are seeing winds that are going to be the highest potential to be destructive. So when you poke around in here, you're seeing those winds 40 to 60, even 70 miles an hour at times within that storm. Now, what I want to do is storm track just that because it's coming into Somerville right now. So hunker down if you're in Somerville, but let me put another storm track on this and just kind of give you an idea of where this thing is headed next. You see, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning. Let me see if I can get that storm track to work. It kind of drove me off the screen here. Let's see if I can do that again. Let's see, that's going to go out to about right there. So this is going to be eventually an issue for Selmer. There's the latest times of arrival. Somerville pretty much right now. Stanton in the next couple of minutes. Moscow at 2:19. Eurekaton at 2:26. Whiteville at 2:27. Grand Junction at 2:32. Bolivar at 2:36. And then Tune by 2:38. I can guesstimate Selmer probably a little closer to 3 p.m. if those winds continue. So again, we are seeing wind gusts still as high as 50 or 60 miles an hour coming through Fayette County and moving off to the east. So Fayette County, Hardeman County, eventually toward McNairy County, that is who is going to get it the worst. Now let me switch back to the normal mode of the radar. That's going to give you kind of a little bit of a better idea of where the strongest part of this storm is. And you can see, again, it is pretty much right over Fayette County. Collierville, you're still getting a lot of heavy rain, but the worst of the wind is past you. If you're in the city of Memphis right now, the worst of the rain is done. The worst of the wind is done. We'll have some showers continue here for the next little bit, but the worst of that wind is done if you're in Memphis, if you're in DeSoto County, if you're in eastern Arkansas. So let's just kind of reset here as this storm moves out of Shelby County. Typically, once the storm starts to leave Shelby County, that is when we end our coverage on television. Of course, we're still here watching the storms, and we're not going to go away just yet. But I do want to let you know that the worst of that storm is moving out of the Memphis metro area. Still some rain out there. If you're in eastern Arkansas, the Memphis metro, it's still raining out there, but the heaviest rain and the gusty winds are really out of here. Really, my biggest concern continues to be in Fayette County, pretty much right over Somerville right now, riding up 64, coming into Bolivar pretty shortly here in the next little bit. Again, very heavy rain. What you're seeing there in purple, that is going to be rain that's coming down so hard you can hardly see. We did get a report, Danielle mentioned this earlier, but a train spotter did report a wind gust measured. That means they have a little weather station. 76 miles an hour in Collierville. I believe it. We were poking around as high as 80 miles an hour.
I have an update for Collierville.
Yeah.
I'll let you continue going. So if you just want to put me in the box, you don't have to take the full screen. But we're getting reports of power lines and trees are down at Bailey Station in Winchester. Oh. So that just lets you know that Winchester got hit hard again, Trevor. That was, this is what, 4 days later?
We've been talking about Winchester for 3 or 4 days in the morning about traffic and how to avoid it.
Exactly. People were stuck in their cars on Tuesday with those power lines down, and now we're looking at another possible area where we're looking at power out again. And in fact, it's kind of worrisome. At least we're not talking about extreme heat tomorrow, but it's still going to be humid for the rest of the day. It's only 2 o'clock, so
not fun to be without power. I'll
exactly.
And I will say, for those that are watching in the station, the worst of the storm is passing by. I know we had kind of put a hold. We had told our folks here, don't drive to work yet. I think we can kind of lift that. We can let folks start to come into work if they haven't already. Hope they're watching out there. On that note, I also want to say, as the worst moves out of Collierville, let's see if we can go ahead and route somebody down there to see if we can get a view of that damage. I think things are safe enough now to begin that commute from our TV station out toward Collierville. We can get some reports of where that worst damage is, because as Danielle said, we've got reports of damage at Bailey Station and Winchester in Collierville. That was trees and power lines that are down. Also, a wind gust of 76 miles an hour that was measured in Collierville, and it snapped one of those 3-inch metal flagpoles. Danielle, that just reminded me to check the outages.
Yeah, 68.
What's on my screen right now is 62,000. I'm going to refresh.
It's 68, I think.
68. That was, I refreshed about 5 minutes ago. Still, the worst areas are going to be along Poplar Avenue, Germantown Parkway, Orange Mound, South Memphis, Bethel Grove, Quince areas. All of those areas are seeing the worst power outages. So it is going to be a long evening commute. Go ahead and let people know, especially if they take Germantown Parkway or Poplar, that we're going to have a lot of areas that are without power, and likely a lot of traffic lights that are out. So I do want to let you know we're still watching this. If you're in Marshall County, Mississippi, through Fayette County, that is that corridor of strongest wind, and it's going to be within Bolivar within the next 20 to 25 minutes, and then towards Selmer within the next hour to hour and a half. After that, with any luck, we'll be done with severe weather for a few days. Tonight looking mostly dry, maybe some sprinkles, but I don't expect a whole lot overnight. And then the weekend looks pretty nice as well. No rain chances, and we are going to see that temperature and humidity come on down a little bit. Danielle, you've got the Futurecast model. Take a look at that.
Yeah, so I've been just keeping my eye on it because, you know, we do want people to be able to enjoy their weekend. And I will say, we both have been talking about it. The temperatures are going to be outstanding this weekend. Once this storm system moves out of here, we should be mostly dry here in Shelby County, but it does look like maybe we could be seeing some possible rain north of I-40 a little bit later. Here's a look at around 3 and 4 o'clock. You can see all of that rainfall. The worst of it will be actually out of the viewing area. The good news is this storm is moving very fast. So the worst, the high winds. So if you are in Hardeman County or even in Alcorn County, the worst of it will be out of there before 6 o'clock tonight. But just remember, do not drive through those floodwaters at all. Let's advance it a little bit more. This is the one little convective system that I'm keeping my eye on, though, that's north of I-40. So Covington, Dyer County, Crittenden County, Crockett County. I will have to keep my eye on that to make sure that everything is all right in that area. But we could be seeing another round of heavy rainfall north of I-40. And this looks around maybe 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. So timing wise for these storms in this time of the year, Trevor and I were talking about it yesterday. It is so hard to pinpoint an exact hour of when these storms are going to make an impact. So we give kind of a time range. So anywhere between like 6 and 9 p.m., some of us north of I-40 could be seeing some more rainfall as well. And that has been kind of an update over the last few hours that we've been seeing. So it's important. And we'll go through some of these other things. Oh, and that was the power outage map. I'll go back to that in a second. There's a few flash flood warnings. They don't expire until 5:15. You definitely need to make sure that if you live in a flood-prone area, just don't even risk it. If you have to go home tonight, make sure you leave before the sun sets so that you can have enough time to see where you're driving. You're not driving into danger. You definitely don't want to get surprised by a flooded roadway. And we've been seeing a lot of people driving on 385 with those white caps popping up as well. You do not want to do that. That is definitely not suggested. Here's a look at our power outage map. And, you know, I really hate this because it's been doing a great job at getting our information in, but in Shelby County, we've been getting so many outages that our system is struggling with keeping up with the information as it comes in. But like Trevor said, the latest update was 68,000 customers in Shelby County without power right now at 2:22 p.m. 500 in Fayette, 2,500, so 2,000, just over 2,000 customers in DeSoto County. So that number has gone up as well. Crittenden County sitting at around 2,000. Now Tipton County experiencing around 4,000 power outages. So we're seeing this being the trend because those winds were so high. We've had multiple reports of trees down. We had the report of the flagpole that was broken, snapped. That is definitely concerning. You don't want to be anywhere where you're seeing that. And speaking of flooding, Sam Cooper, apparently the right lane is completely flooded. So you don't want to drive on Sam Cooper right now. And, you know, Sam Cooper is one of those places, unfortunately, where we talk about almost every rain event with some possible flooding as well. So this is definitely concerning. But like we said, the best news that we can give people is that it has moved out of Shelby County. Trevor?
And Danielle, I do want to let you know as the storm starts to move out of Memphis, I don't like to do this while it's storming because I don't want anybody to be into harm's way. But as the storm passes and you start to go outside, you might see some damage. And I would love it if you pass that along to us just so we can let other viewers know areas to avoid and areas that might have power outages. If you do have photos or videos or even reports, you can just text them to us. Our number at ABC 24 is 901-321-7520. Now that is not a number you can call. Nobody's gonna answer if you call that, but you can text us just a regular text with a report. You can also attach photos and videos to that. So again, that number on your screen, 901-321-7520. That is the number you can send pictures and videos to. Otis Sanford is here. Otis, I just want to ask you, how's the wind out there? Everything okay? Are you holding on? Yeah, bad out there, Otis says, as he was coming in to do his Sunday segment here for ABC 24. So that's just an on-hand viewer report. Glad you made it in okay, Otis, because that just goes to show you, as people are out and about trying to do their Friday evening activities, these winds are kicking. And again, the worst of the wind is now out of Memphis, so that is good. It's still raining, it's still thundering and lightning, but that wind is gone. It's now into Haywood County, really Fayette County, and then into Hardeman County. That looks to me to be the area that is getting it worst right now, kind of that leading edge of storm. So I want to put one more storm track on this and just show you where these winds are going to be at next. So again, Haywood County, Hardeman County, Fayette County, even into North Mississippi a little bit, you're going to be next up for these winds that we have been talking about. So there's your latest storm track. Whiteville at 226, Grand Junction at 228, Brownsville, you're going to be in this too. Damaging wind gust in Brownsville by 234, Bolivar at 236, Ashland in North Mississippi by about 244. So the storms are moving out of Memphis, but they've still got to make it through the rest of West Tennessee, and hopefully by 3 o'clock, things will be a little bit better. They have canceled now the severe thunderstorm watch for Shelby County, for DeSoto County. That's some positive indications that the worst of the storms are moving out of here. But again, this threat is going to continue in western Tennessee here for the next little bit. I would say by 3:30, we might be in better shape. But you'll notice down here, the Weather Service is just mentioning that area down in North Mississippi is strengthening just a little bit. That's where we're seeing winds pick up, and they're going to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning that's going to include Holly Springs, part of Benton and Tipton counties, and that's going to go for the next little bit as well. So as things start to move out of Shelby and DeSoto County, we are going to wrap up our coverage here shortly. Let's aim for 2:30 as a point to wrap things up here on air. I don't want to take up any more of your TV time than I have to, but just know we are still going to be here watching things. We're not going anywhere. And if we think things get to a point that we need to hop back on, we will. But for right now, the worst of that is moving away from Memphis and Shelby County. Things are going to be calming down here, but I do want to let you know, Bolivar, Brownsville, you are going to be up next for the worst of that wind. You haven't seen it yet, but Danielle, some of us have, and that's some good news because we're able to give the all clear to some people. We like to do that. We'll keep an eye on the storm, but if we can give the all clear too, we're going to do that.
Yes, for sure. I would love to be the bearer of good news today.
Let me be the bad news. You can be the good news.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a look at your new severe thunderstorm watch. Like we were talking about earlier, they have started to scale back, which means remove some of those counties out of it. They did just issue a new severe thunderstorm warning, so we'll see it pop up on our screen here in a second. But everyone in white, you are out of that severe thunderstorm watch, and that does include Shelby, DeSoto, Tate, Panola, Tipton, and Lauderdale counties. You all are the new counties that were removed. Counties in pink still involved in the severe thunderstorm watch. The worst of it in this orange. The orange boxes are severe thunderstorm warning. So as you see in Marshall, Benton counties, that is the new severe thunderstorm warning that they just issued. And I'll give you some information. I'll read the bulletin to you. It's for Alcorn, Benton, Marshall, and Tipton counties until 3:15. Winds right now indicating around 60 miles an hour. So that is definitely still a very strong storm as it makes its way through. But the best news that I can give to you is that they have removed Shelby County from the severe thunderstorm watch. Now, that doesn't mean get in your car and go flying down 385. You don't want to do that. There's still a lot of ponding on those roadways. There's still a lot of flash flooding that we're dealing with. The flash flood warning is still in effect until 5:15. Now, they might cancel it early as the water recedes just a little bit, but all of these boxes on your screen that are green, those are flash flood warnings. So that means that there's definitely some flooding in that area. We saw the cars on 385 driving with the white caps on them, so a lot of heavy rainfall has already fallen at this time. So you definitely want to make sure that you take your time as you leave work, as you head out. If you're going on vacation, if you're trying to get out of here, it is a Friday, just take it easy. Try to leave before it gets dark outside so you can see if there's anything in the road that you might need to avoid, including flooding, maybe trees down, tree limbs as well. Just take it slow out there today. So as of right now, it looks like things are better for sure here in Shelby, but we're still monitoring those storms. And I'll give it to Trevor to let him go ahead and wrap up our coverage for today.
Yeah, I just want to do one more update. I don't want to think that... Sorry, my bad. I don't want to think we're forgetting anybody or we're leaving anybody here in the dust. We are keeping a close eye on Fayette, Hardeman, McNairy counties. But as this thing is shifting out of Memphis, we are going to begin to wrap up our coverage here on ABC 24 and get you back to regular programming. But I did want to talk about just how destructive these winds are. The worst of it's past Somerville. I know it's coming a flood in Somerville right now, but the wind has subsided and it's now moving off to the east. Bolivar and Whiteville in Hardeman County, you are going to be up next for those wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles an hour. And it's not just you, it's also down in parts of Mississippi, northern Marshall County, Tipton County, and Benton County. The worst of that wind going to pretty much ride right along Highway 72. So I want to do one more storm track here. And I do want to let you know we're not going anywhere. We are going to stay here and keep an eye on this. And if something does catch our eye again, for example, we'll hop right back on television, but we are going to start to wind things down here. And of course, we're always on the ABC 24 app as well. That's also great if you don't have power right now. But just one more storm track for you. The worst of the wind getting ready to come into Brownsville, Bolivar, Whiteville. And again, this thing is moving east at about 60 miles an hour. By the time we see it back here at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock for the news, this thing's going to be out of here and we're going to be in better shape. Now, Danielle did mention that model indicating maybe a couple of more stronger storms this evening. We'll watch that. Hopefully that doesn't happen. These models can be kind of, spotty this time of year, but there is that potential for a couple of more storms later on. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy like this, but again, we do have wind gusts 50 to 60 miles an hour coming into Bolivar by 237. Hornsby at 246, Middleton at 249, Walnut at 258, and then Bethel Springs towards Selmer by 3 o'clock. So for the next 30 minutes, if you're in Hardeman County, McNairy County, parts of North Mississippi, just be aware it's going to be windy, heavy rain. Go ahead and charge your devices that take power, because power might not be something you have here once this storm blows on through. All right, we're getting ready to send you back here to regular programming. Dr. Phil here on ABC 24. On behalf of meteorologist Danielle Moss, all the crew here at ABC 24 working hard behind the scenes for you. I'm meteorologist Trevor Burchett. We'll keep an eye on this, but for right now, we'll send you back to your regularly scheduled programming on ABC 24.